Everyone, Mike McConville here again, Stratford, Ontario, Canada. Here, back into the building mode. I've got my 30-foot radius sander set up there. We have that Dreadnought top. Finally got back to this thing. I've just had so many other things on my plate at the moment. We've got that X brace kind of laid out, and we're taking a page out of the vintage Gibson book. We're going to go with a narrow strip for the bridge plate, just like they did in those early Gibsons. And the other thing I noticed about that last 46 Gibson is the actual plate itself does not butt up against the X-brace. There's actually space between. Anyways, I will give you a play-by-play as I can and as I free up time to keep this Dreadnought guitar moving forward. I thought before I go any further I would just make some observations for my guitar build students, but also anyone else out there that's interested in building a guitar for themselves. Probably the most common error made by novice or first-time builders is they tend to overbuild. And it's a natural thing. You want to make sure the thing doesn't fall apart. So I'm going to point out a few things about scalloping, bracing placement, and bracing shape and height and thickness, etc., that I sort of keep in mind as I move along. These braces you see here, these sort of splayed braces, the open side here is for the bass side of the soundboard, and where they converge here is the treble side of the soundboard. Now this is the only place where I scallop, which is the intersection of the bridge plate and the finger brace, and then close to the intersection of the main X-brace support. That's where I scallop on both sides. This ramp is just sort of cut down. That tucks in underneath the kerfing. Yeah, this sander that I built about 3 decades ago, this is what I use for shaping the top braces, and that's a 30-foot spherical radius. This head brace, the center portion is actually jointed. It's dead flat. It decreases the complication of the neck to body joint. I'll bring you up to speed on that a little bit later. So there you go. There's our Dreadnought bear claw top, Dreadnought guitar. This is my dry run, no glue yet, and I will glue all of the braces on in one go. Everything starts with the X-brace. The X-brace gives you the footprint by which all other braces are placed. This guitar is all being put together with hide glue, just like the turn of the century, well, turn of the last century, Gibsons and Martins. There's multiple reasons for that, which we'll discuss a little later. One more thing about hide glue is you don't wipe up any squeeze out. This means you want to get exactly the right amount of glue on the brace. It's okay to have a little bit of squeeze out, but you want to get exactly the right proportion. You want to heat it, get the right viscosity. So gluing an X-brace like this is definitely not a job for first-time builders. Just use regular carpenter's glue. You can wipe up the squeeze when you're done. So we'll discuss hide glue a little bit more in detail as this build goes on. So I have this green plastic electrical tape, essentially, to mark the footprints. On the top of the soundboard, I've marked that with the green tape, the plastic tape, and at the bottom of the soundboard. So now we got the exact footprint. The clamps are all dedicated clamps, the right length for each part of the brace where the scallop goes, the blue clamps right at the apex where the brace is highest, and then the yellow clamps towards the tip where it needs a little bit more length to get that tip down tight. And this is all done with spring tension, so it's just the K value of the spring that's holding the brace down. I have all my clamps set up. I start with the outside pair of clamps and work in pairs. You saw how that was set up a minute ago. Those exact same clamps will go on exactly the same spot. So essentially what we have for this X-brace is 19 clamps, the center point, and then 18 other clamps to kind of gently hold it in perfect position while that glue sets. Most of the braces are glued on. I'll explain why that head brace and this graph are glued on off of the radius table. Because we're getting a swing in barometric pressure, the humidity is going to start climbing in the next few days, so I am going to literally burn the midnight oil and get all of the braces glued on the top. So the idea is, in a perfect world, you want to glue all of the braces under the same atmospheric conditions. so that they expand and contract uniformly over the course of the instrument's life. All of the braces, but the head brace and the graph are all done. The back, of course, is already done. I'll fit the back to the side assembly after I get the top to fit perfectly. I'm going to close off this video with these last two comments. The graph and the head brace are glued on free of the radius table because this portion along here and along here is where the fingerboard extension glues to the soundboard. So that's the one part of the soundboard where I want it to be as flat as possible. There is a radius from the tip to this brace, and then from the tip to this brace, the same 30-foot spherical radius. So this flat portion of the brace, no radius here, the graph will follow that naturally. It will just flex to that. That way we're going to get lots of fingerboard extension support, and more on this a little later. Now, oh yeah, Raj, I know you can't see them, but there's hockey pucks under there. Under all 5 clamps, there's hockey pucks on the underside. We have, you know, in the States you have like the ice cream truck. Well, we have the hockey puck truck that comes around and drops off hockey pucks. We buy them by the bucket.